Coming at you with hard-hitting analysis of every fight on every UFC card. This is your source for everything you need to know for your daily fantasy MMA lineups. This is Daily Fantasy Knockout. Here's your host, Drew D.
Hey, what's happening, folks? Thanks for tuning in. This is Daily Fantasy Knockout, episode number 12. I'm your host, Drew Dean. As always, I'm joined by my co-host, Josh Stonewall Stillman. We're here to break down UFC 200 for you guys as it relates to DraftKings for this weekend. Josh, how we doing, buddy?
Good, man. I'm ready to see the True King, UFC 200, Joe Lozon. About to get it on with Diego Sanchez. Just up front, so everyone knows, huge mark for Joe Lozon. So get ready to hear me talk about him on card.
That's like the third fight on the card, and that's the one you talk about first. No, we're talking about John Jones versus DC, Brock Lesnar versus Mark.
Don't care about that. Don't care about that. Joe Lozon, he's about to get that submission. We're about to get that fight of the night bonus. I don't care how stacked the card is. He's the bonus king. So Joe Lozon, forever.
You are the worst ever, I think. Anyway, so as you all know, we're going to break down each card. We're going to give you our picks on who we think is going to win the fight. We're going to look at DraftKings prices and Las Vegas odds. One of our things on this show is we never look at the Las Vegas odds beforehand. We looked at them live as we record this show. So without further ado, let's dive right in. The first fight of the evening is Jim Miller versus the Fireball Kid, Takanori Gomi. We're kind of going to jump into this one a little bit ourselves together. Jim Miller, he's struggled of late. He was on a run a couple years ago. He's an all-around solid fighter. I think he's the more all-around fighter than Takanori Gomi. Gomi, at this point in his career, and correct me if I'm wrong, Josh, he's more of a get out there, stand and bang, and throw wild punches and look for a knockout.
Yeah, his last win was against Isaac Valley Flag, a dude who's no longer in the UFC. And Flag was willing to kind of just engage in like a brawl with him, more or less, just like straight up box. And so he can win a fight like that against somebody like Miller. Miller has been on like a pretty bad downward slide lately. He lost to Chiesa. It was definitely not a bad loss, especially like in retrospect with Chiesa having beaten Daniil Zaryush. So that's a really losing Chiesa, not that bad in retrospect. But then he went out and lost to Diego Sanchez, which is not a good look unless Sanchez, I guess, admittedly did look a lot better. We'll get to him in a minute. But, losing to Diego Sanchez doesn't look good. I guess Gomi, though, also has lost to Diego Sanchez in the recent past. But Diego Sanchez just is really, really good at stealing decisions somehow because he's super come forward, aggressive, just throws constantly, and so that wins the judges most of the time, even though he's not necessarily anywhere close to being a even mid-level UFC talent at this point. So with that said, I sort of lean toward Miller just because he's got more tools. He's got good wrestling, really, really good jiu-jitsu, and Gomi has really struggled with those things of late. Joe Lozon, not known as a really great wrestler, took Gomi down and just pounded him out like pretty easily. So I think it might be a little bit harder for Miller to do something like that, but I definitely wouldn't be surprised if he did. Got any other thoughts on this one?
No, I'm right there with you, man. I think Jim Miller is the more all-around fighter. I think both of these guys are in the twilight of their UFC careers. It's a good fight for the curtain jerker. I'm sure it's going to be exciting.
100%.
I think Gomi has the opportunity to catch Miller, the aging Miller, and knock him out with one punch. But for betting purposes and DraftKings purposes, I think Jim Miller is the play here. I'm going to avoid this in cash. I think this fight in general is strictly a GPP play. Let's take a look at Las Vegas odds. Vegas has Jim Miller as a substantial favorite at minus 260 and Takanori Gomi at plus 200. The over-under is set at 1.5 rounds, and it's favored to go over at minus 150 and under at plus 120. Looking at DraftKings prices, Takanori Gomi comes in at 8,600, and Jim Miller, wow, 10,800. For that price, man, I am anticipating a finish. So yeah, this is strictly a GPP play for me.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, for that price, you hope that he gets that quick finish. I think he's definitely capable of it. Gomi's last 2 fights, he's gotten killed in the first round. So I think Miller could do something like that, but it just kind of depends. I think it kind of depends on Miller's trajectory at this point. Like, is he really fallen off? He used to be like a perennial top 10 guy. His last 3 fights, he barely got past Danny Castillo, got worked over in the second, like after kind of a competitive fight with Chiesa, and then Sanchez lost fight to Diego Sanchez. So I don't have a ton of confidence in him, but Gomi has looked pretty awful lately. So yeah, I could definitely see sprinkling him in some GBPs for sure. And you can even do the same thing with Gomi at 8,600. If Miller continues that downward slide that he's been on, Gomi could get you that finish. But stay away in cash, 100%, I would say, for sure.
Yeah, I'm going to agree. Jim Miller, GPP is our pick. If you need some salary relief, throw in Takanori Gomi. Anyway, let's move on to the second fight on the UFC Fight Pass early prelims. Gegard Mousasi versus Thiago Santos.
This fight is going to be awesome. I mean, there's so many good fights on this card. It's amazing. The fact that this is only the second fight, this is like a co-main event worthy type of fight. So it just kind of speaks to the insane depth that we're going to keep probably touching on as we talk about this. But Santos has deadly Muay Thai. If you've read any of my stuff on Low Kick MMA, I did a top 10 Muay Thai fighters on there, and Santos definitely made the list. His kicks are deadly. He just took out Nate Marquardt with them in his last fight. Marquardt is kind of an aged veteran at this point, so that's not a huge feather in his cap, but he's very, very dangerous on the feet. Mousasi, meanwhile, is sort of an all-rounder. He probably has plus skills in pretty much every area. Wrestling might be his weakest link, and that could be crucial here against someone with as much firepower as Santos. Mousasi is probably going to have a marked advantage on the ground, so he is going to want to try to get it there as often as possible. His grappling is very, very good, and his striking, he's no slouch on the feet either, by any means. He was beating up Uriah Hall before the kind of infamous knockout that Hall landed on him. So should be an interesting fight. I sort of lean toward Mousasi because I think he has more tools at his disposal. I think he's experienced, crafty enough to kind of handle what Santos throws at him and kind of turn the fight into his favor. Anytime it's on the feet, he's going to be in danger, kind of like he was with Uriah Hall, I guess. But I like Mousasi to get the decision here. I think early in Santos's career, he had trouble with wrestling and grappling. I think he got submitted in the first round in his UFC debut, coming off. I think he was on Tough Brazil, maybe. Yeah. But since then, he has kind of done a really good job of shoring up that hole in his game and kind of been able to stay on the feet more and work his Muay Thai. So it should be a really, really interesting fight. I think it's close. I think it's a pretty close fight, but that's sort of my pick. I like Mousasi by decision. Do you have anything else you want to add there?
No, I think Mousasi is the play here. I think he's the all-around fighter, and I really do think he's on the cusp of contending for a title. Aside from that borderline fluke knockout to Uriah Hall, the guy's an all-around great fighter. Looking at Las Vegas, they kind of disagree with you when you say it's close. Mousasi is minus 280, and Thiago Santos is plus 210.
Okay.
The over-under is 2.5 rounds, and it's favored to go over at minus 130. But it's even money at plus 100 to go under 2.5 rounds. So there is some finish potential there. Looking at DraftKings pricings, Mousasi is 10,300, and Thiago Santos is 8,400. Interesting. My dude Derek Brunson was supposed to fight Mousasi. I forgot about that.
Yeah, that would have been a completely different fight, but yeah, it's too bad for Brunson.
Anyway, so what do you think about this? You think Mousasi is the play? Are you going to have any exposure to Santos?
Oh, I'll definitely have exposure to Santos at 8,400. Definitely. Yeah, I mean, for 8,400 in what I don't think that Mousasi has good enough wrestling to kind of hold Santos down for the entire fight, or to like take him down anytime the fight is standing. I think that Santos is going to get his licks in, and he's got firepower, serious firepower. So it's a little bit of a risk. I don't know that I'd play Santos in cash, given how, despite how cheap he is, because he could get taken down and submitted pretty quickly. I don't see that happening here, but that's a possibility. But I would definitely throw Santos in GBPs with no hesitation at all at only 8,400. He could definitely land, a couple of kicks and put Mousasi down. And I don't hate Mousasi for GBPs either. I think he has finish potential, but I think it probably comes a little bit later for him if he were to get the finish. So that's sort of my take on it. I don't know that I would really play either of these guys in cash. How about you? You got any other thoughts?
No, I agree. You're going to throw some flyers with Santos, but I'm more confident in Gegard Mousasi in this fight. He's the more all-around guy. I'm going to lean towards the all-around guy when he's fighting an up-and-comer like that. So my pick is Mousasi, but you know these guys a little better than I do, so sure, I'll throw in some Santos exposure here and there where it fits. But I'm not going to ride or die on him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's move on to our final fight in the UFC Fight Pass. Diego the Nightmare Sanchez versus Joe Lozon. And I'm not even going to steal your thunder on this one. Take it away.
All right. Yes, my boy, Joe Lozon. All right. So, I mean, to be real, both of these guys are pretty – well, I guess I shouldn't say both of these guys. Lozon's pretty inconsistent in kind of how he approaches fights, or I guess not necessarily his approach, but just in the results. He's just very, very inconsistent results. Sometimes he'll hit a great win, like when he ended Melvin Gillard's win streak, when Melvin Gillard looked like he was on the cusp of title contention. He knocked him down and choked him out. What else has he been? That was pretty solid. Drawing a blank here. In any case, I'll jump to his record here in a second. But conversely, with compared to Lozon, Sanchez is super consistent in what he does. I mean, we know what he does. He might wrestle a little bit, but mostly he's looking to brawl. That's like his MO. At this point, he used to have like used to be much more reliant on his wrestling and his grappling. But at this point, he's just kind of a bang it out type dude. He's like really, really similar to Clay Guida. He's going to want to throw hands and then like dive on a takedown. That's kind of what he does. He wants to push you to the fence, throw 1-2, 1-2, and then jump on a takedown, try to get you down to the ground and score points that way. That's sort of his MO. And Lozon, I think, is going to be willing to oblige him. In his last fight with Dunham, I don't know. It was kind of, again, spoke to his just inconsistency. He just kept he was sort of outgunned in a straight kickboxing match with a longer Dunham, who was doing a better job of like using long punches and kicks, and he just kept like walking right into range and getting tagged over and over again. Super tough, and kind of just wouldn't go away. Oh yes, the other really, really good wins that Lozon has. He triangled Jamie Varner, which was pretty good when Varner was like kind of on the come up after knocking out Edson Barbosa, and he stopped Michael Chiesa, who is now like a top 10, borderline top 5 lightweight. So he's got some really, really good wins. Then he's got some bad losses against, like he got beat up pretty badly by Jim Miller, Michael Johnson, got knocked out by Anthony Pettis and Al Iaquinta, and just beat up pretty badly by Evan Dunham. This fight before that, he smashed Takanori Gomi. So it's just, he's very not getting like super consistent results. So it's sort of hard to trust in him that much. But I think this fight kind of plays into his hands well. Sanchez is going to be in there in his face the whole time, and Lozon is down for a fight like that. Sanchez doesn't have a ton of power. He's more of just a volume dude, like stay in your face type of guy, and so I don't think that Lozon necessarily needs to worry about getting like one hit quit. And I think there's going to be some scrambles going on, and that's where Lozon really excels, is in the transitions, in the scrambles. I think that Sanchez has proven to be pretty impervious to submissions. Yeah, he's never been submitted in his 34 professional fights, most of them in the UFC. So I think it would be a huge feather in his cap if Lozon was able to get the submission here. But, I'm a little bit worried here because I see the fight going the distance, and I think that Lozon will have the better of it. But Sanchez has this like weird innate ability to win judges just based on his aggression and his constant volume. So I'm a little bit concerned that I'm going to pick Lozon by decision. That's my pick. But let's look at the prices and see how viable a play this is.
All right. Las Vegas has this at essentially a coin flip. Joe Lozon is a slight favorite at -120. Diego Sanchez comes in at -110. It is heavily favored to go to the distance at -240. The over-under is at 2.5 rounds. Looking at the DraftKings pricing, both men are priced at $9,700.
Okay, well, given that I think there's probably going to be a ton of points scored here, I wouldn't hate playing either of these guys in cash. Whoever you think is likely to come out on top of that decision, given, did you say the over 2.5 rounds is -240?
Correct.
Right? So that's a really good chance that we're going to see a decision here. Really good chance you have 15 minutes of these guys beating snot out of each other. So whoever you like to get the decision, I don't hate at all throwing in cash game. I might be, just because I'm a big Lozon homer, I might throw him in a GBP or two, just on the chance that in a transition he's able to snag a triangle or a rear naked choke or something like that. I don't think it's completely out of the realm of possibility at all. But I think this is more of a light cash play. I think that we're going to have some other better options in cash, but the war that these two guys should lead to a lot of points. Do you have anything you want to add on this one?
No, we talked about this off the air, about possibly stacking this in cash. We think there's some better options, fights coming up where you can stack this in cash. I definitely think this is going to go the distance. It's just what side of the coin you pick. You're on Lozon's side. I don't really have an opinion on this one, but I'm willing to make a bet with you in some fashion. I'll take Sanchez. You take Lozon. We got to have some sort of wager on it. Maybe we'll think about a wager and we'll incorporate that at the end of the show.
Oh man, well, I gotta hate on my boy. That's fine though. I'll take that bet.
I'm not hating on it. I'm just making it fun. But
right. Fair enough.
Yeah. Either way, cash game plays. Either way, it just depends what side of the coin falls. So Josh likes Lozon. I like Diego Sanchez. Anyway, moving on to our next fight, our first fight of the FS1 prelims. Super Sage Northcutt versus Enrique Marin. Without really doing much research on this one, I am a firm believer in the UFC pumping up their stars. It's only smart from a business perspective. I'm a businessman myself. I think of it from this aspect. They're going to feed this guy to Sage Northcutt to beat him. He lost his last fight to Brian Barberena when he was supposed to win. I think Sage storms this guy. You did more research on Marin than I did, but I think this is Sage's fight.
Yeah, I agree with you. The UFC does have, they do have these stars that they want to build up, but then they sometimes feed them to the wolves by accident. They're like, Brian Barberena, the underdog, perpetual
prospect killer.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Yes, prospect killer. He's been an underdog in all of his fights, and he's 3-1 or something like that. They give, Paige Van Zandt, she's super good. She's gonna smash, and then they give her Rose Namajunas, who beats the hell out of her for 5 rounds. So they do. I definitely agree with you. They want to build Sage up. Marin is coming off of losing in the finale of the Tough Latin America Season 2. So no one really cares that much about Marin at this point, unless he got like some giant following in Latin America. I think if Marin were to, this is sort of how I think their risk management at this point, that if Marin were to win, they could build him up as a Latin American potential star, because that's a market they're really trying to get into. But yeah, more so, I think you're on the right track there. That they want to build Northcutt. They want to kind of build his value back after his kind of embarrassing loss to Barberena when he got choked out by a arm triangle from the wrong side or something like that. So it shouldn't have really been choking him. I don't know. But yeah, I think I sort of agree with you in terms of your prediction here. I think that at this point, like, if you bet on Sage in his last fight, you hopefully learned your lesson. He's 19. He is not polished in a lot of areas. His defensive wrestling is really, really bad. His defensive grappling is really, really bad. So he's got some big-time holes to shore up in his game, and he's only 19, so he's got plenty of time to do that. But they've kept him pretty active. This is his fourth UFC fight, and he's still 19. So I think this has been like the longest gap since he's ended the UFC between fights. So hopefully he's made some improvements there. But I think that Marin didn't look like a good wrestler in the film of his that I've seen. So I don't think that he's going to be able to get Sage to the ground consistently to be able to take him down. Sage looks like a far superior athlete, as he would against most people. Marin's striking defense looks like a willing striker, but he got hit flush a bunch of times by Eric Montano. Sorry. So I think that, I think it's my pick here is that Sage is probably going to win by first round knockout, but I would not be super confident in that pick. If he could definitely get taken down and get submitted without. I wouldn't be surprised by that very much at all. So what are we looking at in terms of price and odds on these guys?
Looking at the odds, Sage Northcutt is minus 350. Enrique Marin is plus 250. The over-under is set at 1.5 rounds. It is minus 110 to go under and minus 120 to go over. So it's a coin flip whether it's finished in the first round or not. I'm taking Sage Northcutt. I'm going to be all over him in GPPs. I think he's going to pay off his salary. His salary is, in fact, $11,300. I believe he's the priciest on the card.
Steep.
In fact, he is the priciest on the card. And Marin comes in at, I think he's the low at 8,100. So yeah, I'm going to be all over Sage in this one. I think he's talented. I don't know enough about this Marin guy, but I'm relying on the UFC building their stars because they want to build their brand and make it bigger. They make money off of these guys. So Sage Northcutt is their guy, and they're going to feed sheep to him until he's the man. So
this is the fight game, though, man. Like this isn't done on paper, so they might be feeding him sheep, so to speak, but he's a professional fighter. So I think that you got to be crazy to be all over Northcutt.
No, I don't think I am, dude.
Huh?
I don't think I'm going to go with Sage in this one. Looking at his stats, he averages 3.2 strikes per minute, 4 takedowns per fight. This Marin guy averages 1.8 strikes per minute, 1 takedown. I don't know what the sample size is. I'd have to look.
Marin's only had 1 UFC fight. Sage has had 3. So it's not huge.
Okay, that's fair. But
in this account too much. Yeah, I mean, by all means, play Sage in some GPPs. Absolutely. He could absolutely get a first-round knockout 100%. But I also think that you need to be playing some Marin, super cheap. And Sage, he's 19. He's super inconsistent. He's not polished. He's not all around yet. Just because they're feeding him the dude who he should beat. They did the same thing with Barberena, and look how that turned out. Marin is training at King's MMA, I believe, so he's got a really good team, really good camp. And if he's got any wrestling or submission skills, he's going to be putting Sage, he could put Sage in danger. So, just saying. You've been warned.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to go with Sage. There's that.
All right.
All right. Anyway, let's move on to the next fight. No, you do raise a good point, though. Sage is young, inconsistent. Just like the Barbarina. Don't get bought up with the hype, but I think this is his fight to win. So, all right, we're going to move on to our next fight in the FS1 prelims. What the hell happened here? TJ Dillashaw, what the hell are you doing fighting on the prelim card versus Rafael Asanko?
Sunsao.
How do you say it?
Sunsao.
Sunsao?
Yeah.
That's strange. Anyway, all right, so I did a little research on this guy. He's 23-4 in his pro career, Sunsao. 23-4. His most recent fight, he decisioned Brian Caraway in 2014. It's now late 2016 or mid 2016, so ring rust could be a factor here. He is a solid all-around fighter. He sets a rhythmic pace with his opponents. He's got huge power in his hands, throws brutal kicks. He is a counter striker. So, but looking at that, as a counter striker, he does leave himself susceptible to volume strikers. He had huge success in his counterpunching. He's very hard to hit. He has never absorbed more than 37 significant strikes in his UFC and WEC career. That's a fact. The guy's got great head movement. He's very fast with his in-and-out striking. But similar to high-output fighters, he struggles when fighters get in close and they dirty box with him. So I'm going with TJ Dillashaw in this fight. I should have said that from the start. TJ, he's got excellent movement and footwork. It's elite. He's got elite speed. He's very aggressive. He's more than willing to stand in the pocket and bang. He's open to taking some shots to deliver shots. He's a former champion. He has the championship pedigree. He's been through 5-round wars. He's always active. He just lost a close one to Dominic Cruz. Am I correct on that? Was that his last fight?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I think this is I don't want to say a cupcake fight by any means, but I think TJ's the clear favorite in this fight. And I'm going to take TJ to win this fight via decision. I think he's the more polished fighter. I think he gets in the face of his opponent. I think he wins a lopsided decision. This dude was a dominant champion. He lost to Dominic Cruz, who is elite. He's one of a kind. With TJ's experience in the prolonged absence of, how do you say it? Asunko? Sunkao. I'm going to take, regardless, I'm going to take TJ in this fight via decision.
Yeah, I agree with you. Sunsao is very, very good. The layoff is a big concern. He's won like 7 or something fights in a row in the UFC, and just because of like injuries and stuff, he hasn't been given a title shot. He just like keeps having like these long layoffs. But yeah, he's coming off win of Brian Caraway, like you said, but that was almost 2 years ago.
I forgot to mention. I'm sorry to cut you off. I forgot to mention he has he beat TJ Dillashaw in the past.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was just about to say. So, but with that said, since then, Dillashaw like made the huge jump to be the championship level fighter that he is now, right? Like before his first fight with Barao, he didn't look anything like that fighter. That with all of the footwork and the volume and craftiness that he showed since like kind of working with Dwayne Ludwig. He didn't look like that until that fight, pretty much. That's why he was a giant underdog to Barao in their first fight. Like no one thought that he would be able to do anything like that. So I agree with you. I think that Dillashaw has made a lot of improvements since their first fight, and Sunsao's been out for a long time. So I agree. I like Dillashaw by decision here.
All right, let's take a look at Las Vegas odds. Just lost my spot here. Dillashaw is a, minus 400 favorite. Sunkao is plus 300. The over-under is at 2.5 rounds, and the over is favored at minus 210. The under is plus 165. DraftKings, Dillashaw comes in at 11,100, and Asanko comes in at 8,300. How do you want to play that?
Okay. We're going to have to hold off on that for a second.
Bro, what?
Okay. Brett Okamoto just tweeted that Jones is off UFC 200.
Shut the hell up.
No. One of my students who's like into like sports journalism tweeted at me. Like, that's why I saw this just now, saying that what are my thoughts on Jones being off of UFC 200. USADA has informed John Jones of potential doping violation.
Positive.
He's off of 200.
Jeff Nowitzki says John Jones versus Daniel Cormier is off. Jones failed an out-of-competition drug test. Oh, my God. Lesnar versus Hunt is the main event.
What? Wow. What do you think? I'm kind of speechless right now.
You're speechless? Holy shit, dude.
Wow.
Wow, John Jones is a total fraud.
What do you mean he's a total fraud?
Oh, I've cleaned up my act. Blah, blah, blah. It's been a tough year.
Come on, dude, how are you even surprised by that? That is the most unsurprising thing in the entire world. The dude has been a terrible human being his entire career. The fact that he got popped now is just a disaster for him, but it's not surprising that he's a fraud in the least. Yeah, this is
Oh, my God.
This is bad. This is really, really bad. But the card is stacked enough that I don't think that it's going to – I don't know. How much do you think it suffers here?
Does he fight for the UFC again?
Oh, man. You think they would blacklist him like that? The best fighter in the world?
Dude, this is like –
This is bad. This is big. This is big.
this is terrible. I can't stop refreshing Twitter, folks. Holy mother of Jesus. Dana White on Jones. That's all I know. Obviously, he's got the chance to prove himself innocent before guilty. White says he does not know what substance Jones tested positive for. White said someone could pop up and want to fight Cormier on short notice. White is hoping to find someone to fight Daniel Cormier on Saturday at UFC 200. White was eating dinner at Mandalay Bay when he heard the news. White, John Jones might get a 2-year suspension for this. Who knows?
Damn. I guess they can throw that interim belt out the door. Is DC happy about this or not? What do you think?
Hell no, dude. He is absolutely crushed.
Because he's losing payday, or why would you think that DC rushed?
Honestly, I think his sole motivation in MMA is to beat John Jones. I really do.
Yeah. I mean, if he gets a 2-year suspension, he's not going to be able to fight him again until DC's 39. He's 37 right now.
They're never fighting again.
Huh?
They're never fighting again.
If he gets a 2-year suspension, they're not. I don't think. Yeah, this is crazy.
Mother of God.
How do you want to proceed from here?
For this card?
Yeah. I mean, like, with the podcast.
I mean, we got to break down everybody else, right? The fights still go on.
Yeah.
What, do you want to mail it in because one guy can't pull his own weight?
No. Yeah, I guess we should just go through the rest of the card, and then we'll talk about...
Dude, all of my friends are blowing me up right now. Shout out to Ricky Bordenero, for the record. Dude!
You know?
All right, folks, we're going to carry on as planned, but we're going to keep an eye on Twitter throughout this, and if we get distracted and we go back to John Jones news, we apologize, but this is like breaking live news, so it's important. Anyway, go on.
Quick shout out to Corey Van Dyke for breaking this live
Shout out to Corey.
Recording. Yeah. Thanks, dude.
Daniel Cormier is on MMAfighting.com right now. He's about to take the podium to field questions. Oh, my God. We should stream this.
Should we take a break? I don't think we can do that. We can't do that. Let's go through the rest of our podcast, and then we'll
Dude, who's going to fill in for him?
Nobody. No one could fill in for him. He's not ready to fight, dude. He's not in Vegas.
Johnson?
If anyone was to fill in, they would have to be on this card or fighting this weekend. They'd be fighting this weekend. Are there any other light heavyweights fighting this weekend that are ranked?
Negative.
Yeah, I can't think of any.
I'm looking at the card right now. They're the only light heavyweight fight.
So, no. Unless there's like is there a really, really good middleweight that's fighting? Like, I can't think of any. Like, other than Musasi and Santos, but they're not going to, that doesn't make any sense.
I'll fight him.
Yeah, I think, I think Brock and Hunt just becomes the new main event or something, I guess. You still have 2 title fights. You still have a huge stacked card. Yeah. That's weird. It's very weird. Interesting stuff. All right. So, sorry. Jumping back to TJ Dillashaw and Rafael Sunsao.
Yeah, Dillashaw's going to win the fight. Let's move on.
Okay, well, price-wise, he's 11,100. And Sunsao is 8,300. Again, I think this is kind of crazy. Those those prices seem pretty crazy. Dillashaw is a minus 410. Sunsao is plus 330. That is seems wide. Seems very, very wide. Like, Dillashaw, I think, should be a favorite. 2-1 favorite, maybe, or maybe even a little bit more, but 4-1 seems pretty crazy. Hey.
Dude, I can't focus. I'm sorry.
We got a podcast to do. We'll jump back and look at that later.
Okay, sounds good.
At the end, we'll come back to that.
You're right. We're going to talk to main event shortly anyway. So, TJ Dillashaw for 11,000. What is he? 11-1?
Yeah, that's too rich for me.
Yeah, especially for GPPs. I don't see him finishing the fight.
I think it's gonna be one.
I don't think I'm going to pay up that for cash either. I mean, I guess he's a guaranteed win.
I mean, he's supposed to be at those odds, but I don't see him as being guaranteed win. Sunsau's good, dude. He's on like a 7 or 8 fight win streak. I think Dillashaw should be favored.
Dillashaw's elite, dude. Dillashaw's elite, man. He's held the belt. He's fought much higher talent than him.
Yeah, okay, but here's the thing. Regardless of whether or not you think that Dillashaw is much, much better than a Sunsao, he's not a quick finisher, okay? It took him 4 rounds and then 5 rounds to finish Barao. He's volume. He's volume, dude. It took him until, I think, the 5th round to finish Joe Soto. Okay, Joe Soto's a good fighter by all means, but if you're not he was stepping up on a day's notice to fight in the championship fight when Barao had to drop out of their second meeting the first time, whatever. Dillashaw does not get quick finishes. So Sunsao should be around for the entire time. What's the over-under here, one of the odds?
210 to go over.
2.5
rounds.
Okay. So
minus 210.
Yeah, likely to go the distance. So Sunsao's going to be around. He's only 8,300? 8,300. So I would play more Sunsao in both formats here. Not that I would be. I mean, obviously he's only 8,300. Who are some of those other cheap guys? I think I like Gomi's got a better shot to finish than a Sunsao does. Oh my goodness, no way. Okay, Travis Brown. We'll get to him in a little bit. Travis Brown is only 8,200. He obviously has a much better chance to finish than a Sunsao, given it's a heavyweight fight. Amanda Nunes is only 8,700. She just has a pretty good shot to finish, I think. So I think I don't hate a Sunsao for cash, given how crazy cheap he is, and I think the fight is much closer than than the odds say. Ready to move on to the next one?
Yeah, buddy, let's do it.
All right, so that leads us to Kelvin Gastelum and Johnny Hendricks.
Big rig Hendricks.
You got a thought on this one, or should I go?
I mean, both guys are going to come out there and bang it out. Johnny Hendricks obviously has the wrestling advantage, I think, in my opinion. He averages 4 times as many takedowns per fight, and he does have the experience. My issue here is which Johnny Hendricks is going to show up.
Mm-hmm.
Previously, on his way up to win the title, the dude was dialed in. He was cut up. He was, running through people. He wins the title. And I think after he lost the title, he missed weight a couple times, maybe once, and he just didn't have the best performances. And which Johnny Big Rig's going to show up?
Yeah, he just got murdered in his last fight by Stephen Thompson. Just murdered. And before that, I know, he missed weight against Tyron Woodley in what was supposed to be like a #1 contender fight. And I think then before that, he was still the champion. So, yeah, he has not looked good of late, like big problems with the weight cut. Gastelum is another dude who has problems with the weight cut himself. I think it's going to be very close, probably a very close fight. It's kind of hard to see, like, Gastelum's probably on the come up, and Hendricks looks like he's on a pretty steep downward slope here. So I guess we're going to find out pretty quickly just where exactly they're at in their, their trajectories. I sort of lean. What has Gastelum done lately, real quick? I know he lost to Magny in a really close fight. Yeah, that was his last fight.
He beat Marquardt, lost to Woodley.
Okay.
Burger.
Okay. Yeah. I think that I'm probably going to side with Hendricks here. I don't like. He just was badly flummoxed by Thompson. He just couldn't figure him out and ended up getting smashed. I don't think Gastelum doesn't have obviously that kind of striking or that kind of power. I don't think. I think it should be a close fight, but I side with Hendricks trying to win a decision here. You agree?
Yeah, I'm going to go. I would agree with you on that one. I think he's the more experienced and all-around fighter. I'm assuming after these last 2 performances, he finally got his ass back in gear. He's not going to miss weight. He's going to come back with a vengeance and beat Kelvin Gastelum.
This might be one of those where you want to look at how they look at them and see how they look on the scale. I think this might be a fight like that where if Hendricks looks really bad on the scale, then you might want to stay away from him. I think that let's look at their prices.
Hendricks is 10,100. Gastelum is 9,300.
Okay, I could definitely see playing Gastelum in GVPs because he's even since Tough, he's had a sneaky knack of grabbing submissions against dudes that had better grappling, better wrestling pedigrees than him. He's just been able to do that. I think he's got sneaky good wrestling and grappling skills. So if Hendricks is continuing on his downslide, I think that Gastelum could definitely finish Hendricks. So I think that Gastelum for me is going to be more of a GVP. Hendricks has that power, but we haven't seen it of late. You might consider throwing him in GVPs too, but I'm probably going to be less on him. I'm having a hard time trusting him at this point. And so, yeah, that's sort of my take.
You're less on who?
I'm going to be probably, given their prices, I'm probably going to be playing Hendricks less because I think that Gastelum probably has a better chance of finishing, and he's cheaper.
Okay. Yeah, I would agree with you on that one. All right, let's move on, guys. Our last fight on Fox Sports 1 prelim, Kat Zingano versus Juliana Pena. I'll dive into this one a little bit here. Zingano, she's known for her striking. What I noticed in the video that I watched was she was faster than most of the women that she fought. Her clinch game is very strong. She likes to work a guillotine choke, and then she'll do this nifty. She rolls back and flips her opponent over into a nice takedown, so she gains top control. Looking at her ground game, when she fought Amanda Nunes and Misha Tate, she was taken down fairly early. Although she was taken down, she's pretty confident on her back. She stays very busy on the bottom. She throws up a ton of arm bars and leg lock submissions. Her submission game is very, very polished. In terms of being defensive on her back, she's not the most defensively sound on her back and deflecting ground and pound and strikes like that. She does have a tough chin. Amanda Nunes had top position on her and was pretty much laying it on her for a couple minutes straight. She hung in there. On the flip side, she does thrive in top position. She's very smothering in top control, easily transitioning. She really, really wears on her opponents. She does a great job of dropping bombs, and she likes to isolate certain limbs, drop bombs, and then look for submissions on those isolated limbs. Again, she's absolutely dominant on top with ground and pound or submission attempts, and she limits her opponents to do much of anything when they're on their back. Looking at Pena, her striking, there's limited stand-up footage that I've seen on her. She did fight Jessica Ai, who is a preferred striker, and to me, she looked fairly uncomfortable in the stand-up. She kept rushing through the stand-up to get in close, and she kept pushing for the clinch, and she was just overall sloppier on her feet. She's an excellent grappler, though. She has 4 wins by submission. She's strong in the clinch. She uses this trip to get her opponents to the ground. She likes to isolate her opponent's hips. She keeps them flat, lands big, big ground and pound, and her pace is huge. She sets a crazy, crazy pace on the ground and pound. She takes a lot of risks when she's in top position to score devastating, top position blows. She has great balance and lower body strength to defend against takedowns. Her bread and butter is her ground and pound takedowns, or her ground and pound. She's very vicious, super aggressive, all that sort of stuff. When she's on her back, though, that is kind of an issue. Jessica Ai took her to the ground on 1 or 2 occasions and really neutralized her when she was on her back. She almost tapped her out on the ground from half guard. So in my opinion, if Zingano does get top control, it's going to be a really long day for Pena. And on a second note, Pena only beat Jessica Ai because there was a fluke point deduction. I think Jessica Ai should have taken that fight. Anyway, I'm going to be all over Zingano in this fight. I think she's the more polished on her feet, and I think she's superior in the ground game. She's going to have the edge in the stand-up. And I really do think she's going to outpoint Pena because Pena is quite uncomfortable on her feet. If it does go to the ground, which I think it will, I still think Zingano is the superior fighter down there. And I think she's going to finish this fight in the 2nd or 3rd round.
I agree with you, man. I agree 100%. I think that Juliana Pena is a sometimes training partner of Misha Tate, I think. And I think that she's kind of just a more aggressive but a little bit worse version of Tate. Like, she's really good in top position like Tate, but she's just not as crafty. And, yeah, I mean, after Zingano beat Tate in a really close fight but ended up getting the finish, I see her being probably able to do the same thing to Pena here. So looking at the odds, Zingano is minus 175 favorite, and Pena is plus 155 underdog. And Zingano comes in at $10,500 on DraftKings, and Juliana Pena is $8,900 on DraftKings. So do you think that paying up for Zingano is worth it at $10,500?
Yeah, I would pay up for Zingano.
Okay.
She's got finishing potential. Yeah, I would pay up for her. I wouldn't be my first person to pay up for, but yeah, I would pay up for her. I really think she does finish this fight.
Okay.
Yeah, she's lost 1 fight to Rousey. She beat Nunez's ass. She beat Misha Tate. Finished both of them. I think this is her fight.
Zingano finished Nunes. Title challenger Nunes?
Yeah.
Really? I did not know that. Interesting.
Yeah, it was back in September 27th. I don't know what year it was, but
Oh, dang.
she KO'd her in the 3rd round.
Interesting. Cool. Yeah. Yeah. So Zingano looks like, I mean, that Rousey fight had to be somewhat flukish. That 14-second weird submission. She's shown to be a very, very, very good fighter. Pena is no slouch herself, but so yeah, I agree with you. I think that that Zingano could definitely get the submission or get the finish here. Do you think where are you at in terms of playing Pena at 8,900?
Probably not going to touch her.
Okay. You don't think that she's got? I mean, her stand-up's too raw. You don't think that she's going to be able to get like a submission?
Not against Zingano. I think Zingano's competent enough on the ground. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to touch much of Pena.
All right, cool. I'm down with that. Moving on. Main card, right? Yes.
Cain Velasquez versus Travis Brown.
All right, so we get the return of Cain here. How do you see this one? How do you see this one going? I think most people are going to be on Velasquez to kind of like rebound from his loss to Verdum, but all the injuries have to be a little bit concerning. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, he put in a healthy camp from what we've seen. I'm going to lean Cain on this one based on his previous fights. The guy averages 6 significant strikes per minute, 5 takedowns per fight. He is smaller compared to Travis Brown, but with his wrestling background, he was at Arizona State, right, if I believe?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Arizona State with CB Dalloway, and I forget, there was somebody else. There's 3 of them.
Aaron Simpson,
yeah. I think this is I'm all on Cain on this fight. I really am. I think he comes back with a vengeance to prove he has something to prove. I've always thought he was one of the most elite heavyweight champs that they've had. So I'm going to be all up on Cain on this one.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. Brown has looked like at times like a really elite athlete, but hasn't looked to be on, that championship level, despite, like the revolving door of champions at heavyweight. Some of his losses have made it look like he's just like not quite there. I think the big thing a lot of people thought was kind of his downfall was going and training with Edmund Tardarverdian, however you say his name, Ronda Rousey's trainer, who most people think is just not a very good trainer. So he left Jackson Wink to go train, like one of the best camps in the world, to go train at not a very good camp. So as far as I know, he's still there. So that's not going to be, probably not going to be good for him. So I think Cain probably gets it done here. Probably in like the 2nd round knockout or 2nd or 3rd round knockout would probably be my pick here. But heavyweight MMA, you definitely have to have exposure to both of them. Looking at the odds on this one, Velasquez is minus 290 favorite, and Brown is plus 245. The over-under is 1.5 rounds, and it's basically a coin flip on whether it goes over or under. So definitely like the finish potential in this one. Velasquez is 11,200 though, and Brown is 8,200. So with that in mind, I think obviously you can play Cain in GBPs. He's the favorite. He should get the finish here. Probably, what's his finish prop? But I think you have to have exposure to Brown. Interesting. So Velasquez, his finish prop is minus 130 to finish inside the distance, while Brown's is plus 325 to win inside the distance. That seems kind of crazy. I feel like it should be, you should have a better chance of finishing inside the distance. But in any case, it's heavyweight MMA. Cain's been knocked out before. Brown has huge power, so it could definitely be done again. I think you could definitely have exposure to both here in GBPs. Obviously, it's heavyweights. Do you like Cain for cash at all, or do you think he's too rich? I mean, he's got a good like balance of like pretty solid favorite, but also a lot of high upside.
That's such a tough question because earlier who did you ask me about in cash? I can't remember. I think Kane wins this fight either way. I think he finishes this fight based on the Vegas odds. Yeah, I'd be comfortable playing him either way. I'm not confident in Kane. I think he's the number 2 heavyweight in the world for a reason. He lost to Fabricio Verdum in the 3rd round. He didn't have a full training camp for that fight. Before that, he knocked out Dos Santos, Bigfoot Silva, decision Dos Santos again before that. So yeah, I'm going to be all over Kane, I think, this weekend.
Okay, I was just thinking it might be. I think it's always a risk to be playing heavyweights in cash, especially for someone that expensive. Like if it's if the prices are more even and you like one guy pretty big, then I could see it perhaps. But for 11,200 in your cash lineup, like you need Kane to be getting like that first round finish, or at the least. Probably at the least finish, and definitely at the very bare minimum, you need him to win. We'll probably need that finish, and so you're going to be sweating anytime Brown throws at him, right? So, if you want to make the case that you play Kane in cash, I don't hate it, but I would probably try to look elsewhere just because it's heavyweights, and playing them in cash is going to just be bad for my heart, So.
Bad for my heart. Oh, I love it. I love it. Yeah, playing heavyweights is a risk, but I don't know. I don't see Kane as like a Ben Rothwell, Roy Nelson kind of coin flip heavyweight. I think he's the guy. I think Travis Brown is too inconsistent for my liking. Yeah, I'm gonna be confident all over Kane this weekend.
Okay.
All right, let's move on to our next fight of the evening. The interim featherweight title, Jose Aldo versus Frankie Edgar. And I think we'll attack this one together. If you guys have watched UFC in the past, you guys know what you're getting with this. Jose Aldo, he's an elite striker. He's most dangerous in the first round of his fights. He's got super fast hands. He throws a ton of feints. He's going to throw strikes from all sorts of positions with power. His body kicks and his leg kicks are legendary. He broke down Frankie Edgar in the first fight on the first couple rounds, tore up Uriah Faber's leg. It was almost painful to watch. He's got lightning fast combos. He's got one-punch knockout power. He's one of those guys, though, that's a stationary fighter in the pocket. He's going to stand directly in front of his opponent, and if his opponent is going to stand right there in front of him with him, he's going to dominate that guy. The goal to beating Aldo is to make him work in the early rounds. He has a tendency to fade as the fight goes on. His gas tank was pretty much emptying versus Chad Mendes. He didn't have the same speed or quickness, and his hands started to drop later in that fight. Same thing with Frankie Edgar. Looking at his ground game, he's got very good top game. He is at a disadvantage when he's in the clinch or on his back. But he did show some solid takedown offense against Chad Mendes, and he stuffed over 85% of the takedown attempts by Frankie in their first fight, which could be a problem this fight for Frankie. Let's move on to Frankie. Looking at his striking, it's all about movement, movement, movement. If you see this guy, he is constantly moving. He's constantly changing angles. He has an unlimited gas tank. He's fought 5-round fights, I believe 6 different times at this point in his career. In his first fight with Aldo, he struggled with the reach of Aldo. He was shooting in for attempts, and he was getting jabbed.
I don't know. We lost Drew. This is bad. Okay. 1 second.
Hey, sorry about that.
Oh, phew, good. I was worried there. What happened?
I don't know. My video just cut out. Anyway, looking at Frankie Edgar, like I said, he struggled with the reach of Jose Aldo in their first fight. He tried to get inside, but he was just jabbed from a distance. The leg kicks that Jose Aldo was throwing at him just kind of tore him up. His movement was severely compromised early in the fight. But as the fight did wear on, he found a home for his right leg kick against Jose Aldo. And as Aldo started to slow down, Frankie continued his momentum, used his gas tank, and he was still relevant in the fight. Frankie Edgar most recently fought Chad Mendes, and he showed really good improvement in crisp boxing. He showed solid counterpunching with his perpetual movement inside the cage. And at the same time, though, Mendes still did find a home for his leg kicks against Frankie, and I think that's going to be a problem in this fight regardless. So with that being said, I forgot to mention Frankie's a college wrestler. Takedowns are a huge part of his success over the years, but he struggled to take down Aldo in their first fight. With that being said, Frankie has gotten better over the years, but I'm still going to go with the longer Aldo in this fight. I think Aldo comes back re-energized, in peak shape because he was embarrassed by Conor. I really think that wore on him. I think he picks off where he left off and continues to beat down on the legs of Frankie Edgar, limits his movement, and I see Jose Aldo edging this out on the cards via decision. It's important to note, though, Aldo needs to be smarter this time around. He needs to conserve his energy a little bit and continue to chop down Frankie throughout the fight and not, blow his load in the first round like he normally does. And I think he wins this fight via decision, and then he calls out Conor McGregor.
All right, I think I'm kind of going the other way on this one from you. I think I like Edgar in this one. Like you said, he's been improving a lot. He looked like a real killer at 145 pounds. So I think I'm going to pick Edgar in this one. Looking at the odds, it was a good breakdown, though. Looking at the odds, it's pretty much a coin flip. Edgar is -115. Aldo is -105. The over-under is 4.5 rounds, and the over is -120. So maybe basically a coin flip, I guess, to finish. But I like Edgar, and I could definitely see him getting a late round finish as, Aldo has a tendency to tire as the fight goes on. Since their first fight, Edgar has just completely demolished a whole bunch of top 10 featherweights. Just knocked out Chad Mendes, just completely eviscerated, dominated Cub Swanson. He's just smashed everyone that he's fought pretty easily. So I think that you're kind of saying that you think that Aldo's going to come back from his knockout loss to McGregor, like re-energized. I think it's going to be kind of the opposite. I think that he's going to be broken mentally. It's sort of my guess here, but just a guess. Just the way that they've been looking lately, Edgar's looked unstoppable, so I'm picking Edgar by perhaps late stoppage, but I guess by decision.
I wouldn't be shocked by that. It's just, does Aldo come back motivated, or does he come back hesitant? I'm going to side with motivated on this fight. I'm just taking a pick. I'm not going to be surprised if Edgar wins this fight. So,
all right. So, looking at basically pick'em odds, and so Edgar is 9,900 on DraftKings, and Aldo is 9,500. I think this is definitely, we were talking about this before going on air. I think that this is definitely one of those that you can stack in cash. Almost 25 minutes. Likely going nearly the full 25 minutes on this fight. Probably a lot of stand-up. Really close fight. Pretty cheap price tags, both under 10K. I think this is definite if you're in cash. I think with Jones now being off, That was another one that I was considering stacking, maybe doing a double stack for those two. But I think this is now the one to stack if you're going to do that. What do you think?
Yep. I think these two guys are, well, Frankie's an Energizer Bunny, but I think Aldo's going to squeak out a decision. So I'm probably going to stack this fight in my cash game lineups because I think both these guys are going to go. This is a title fight, right?
Yeah, interim, but yeah.
These guys are going to take it 5 rounds and just beat the piss out of each other. So,
how about for GPPs?
What's that?
What do you think about them for GPPs? Who do you think has like more finish potential here?
I think Aldo has more finish potential. 9,500. I'm going to probably throw him in some GPPs. I don't see Frankie getting through that jab and those leg kicks again. I mean, I know he's improved, but I think Aldo. I don't know. I just have this feeling. I don't know how. I don't have the evidence to back it up, I guess, but based on the video that I've seen, I think Aldo's going to pick him apart and just beat up that front leg.
You focus on this fight a little bit more. Yeah, Edgar has, like I said, he's looked unstoppable. He's basically been, no one's unfinishable, but we've seen him get crushed by a bunch of dudes and not go away, not get finished. So, get out of here with that. So I think actually, who has more finish potential? I think that Edgar does. That's just me. I can definitely see either of these guys finishing. They both have a lot of firepower. Edgar has some serious firepower at 145, as he showed by knocking out Chad Mendes, who looked like, very solid chinned himself before that fight. And Aldo's always had some sick firepower. So I could definitely see either one of them potentially finishing. I like them both if you want to throw them in GPPs. But fight scheduled to go the distance, I think definitely this is more of a cash play and stack probably. So cool.
All right.
On to the next one.
Miesha Tate versus Amanda Nunes.
All right. So this was my Stonewall stunner back at UFC 196, I believe, was picking Tate to dethrone Holly Holm. And that's what happened. So, got to toot my own horn here. That said, I'm a little bit concerned for her against Nunes because Nunes looks like a serious killer on the feet. And Tate has a really unfortunate tendency of getting smashed on early in fights. She's one of the best at making adjustments. That's what kind of helped her overcome Holm. It's, I think, what kind of helped her get deeper into her fight, in her second fight with Rousey. She's really, really good at making those adjustments. So we got her by Sarah McMahon after getting smashed on in the first round of their fight. So she's very, very good at making adjustments, but she tends to get beat on pretty badly in the first round. And Nunes is not one to let an opportunity like that slide. She's vicious on the feet. She got by Shevchenko in her last fight. Shevchenko, I think, was able to make a little bit more of a grappling battle, and Shevchenko herself has a really, really good striking pedigree in her own right. I think she's kickboxing. Shevchenko has a kickboxing background of her own, so she was able to kind of like hold her own on the feet and kind of drag Nunes into these grappling battles to kind of prevent her from having to eat the heavy leather of Nunes. Tate just doesn't have. She's a crafty striker. She's good at kind of like sneaking in overhand rights, and she's willing, which is huge for her. She's like obviously her best asset is her grappling, so she wants to get on top and look for submissions. That's kind of her bread and butter. But she's willing to throw on the feet to kind of help set those things up, to kind of make her striking at least somewhat of a threat, to kind of get her grappling, her wrestling in gear. But I think she's going to be in danger here against Nunes. I'm concerned for her. I'm a big Miesha Tate fan. Gotta love her heart, her grit, her her adjustments. Doesn't have, the pedigrees of a lot of the other people, of a Ronda Rousey, of a Holly Holm. She doesn't have that kind of pedigree, but she was just by heart and guts and will, she was able to claw her way to the championship. So I have a lot of respect for that. So I think the deeper this fight goes, I think the more that it will favor Tate because of her ability to, kind of get stronger as the fight goes on, make those adjustments, drag opponents into deep water. That's kind of her MO. Same thing with Brian Caraway. But I'm going to be concerned for her early on in this fight. That said, I'm going to trust in Tate's chin. She's never really been knocked out. She got TKO'd by Zingano, but she was not even she was getting blasted by knees and punches, just getting decked hard, and she still didn't even go out there. So I'm going to trust in Tate's chin to kind of hold up, and then I think that she kind of drags Nunes into deep waters in the middle to later rounds and finishes it by, let's say, 4th round choke. That's my pick, but I don't feel super awesome about it. Do you have any thoughts on Tate Nunes?
No, pretty much what you said. We kind of talked about this off air, and I'm going to agree with you on this one. I think this fight's going to go longer than 3 rounds, and I think Tate's going to squeak out a late finish victory. Have you gone over Vegas odds at all?
No. You want to do that, or should I?
I got you. Miesha Tate is favored to win this fight at -260. Amanda Nunes comes in at +200. The over-under is set at 1.5 rounds. The over is favored to hit at -200 or -240, excuse me, and the under is +190. Who did I was watching something about who did I fight? Or it was Zingano versus Amanda Nunes. Zingano, when she was in top position against Nunes, was absolutely dominant. So I see Miesha Tate, weathering the storm and in the later rounds, gaining top control and choking her out. 4th, 5th round, in my opinion. Okay. Prices on DraftKings: Miesha Tate comes in at 10,700, and Amanda Nunes is 8,700. What do you think about that?
Well, first of all, I just want to say real quick about the over/under. I think it's pretty crazy, 1.5 rounds. Granted, the over is -235 on best fight odds. I'm not sure where you're looking at. Ours are always a little bit different, but around the same thing. Putting the over/under at 1.5 rounds for a championship fight, you don't usually see something like that unless it's a heavyweight fight. So I think because of that, this is a lot of times stacking championship fights in cash is an option. We already discussed that for Aldo Edgar. I think this is probably not one that you really want to consider that route for here, given that the finish potential. So this is more of a GPP play. Tate is a pretty solid favorite. Has 5 rounds to get that finish, 5 rounds to rack up points. She's not necessarily a huge striker, but she can rack up points in top position with ground and pound for sure. So I think this is more of a GPP play. Like I said, I like Tate. I think she's going to be able to weather the storm, get the finish. She's a solid favorite. You have to pay up a little bit for her, but she's got those 25 minutes to get the points, get the finish. But for 8,700, I definitely don't hate Nunes in GPPs. I'll definitely have exposure to her. Some exposure for sure. Her hands are just vicious. She looks. She reminds me of Jessica Andrade, the one of the fighters on, I think, one of our recent podcasts. We talked about how she's just an absolute sledgehammer, and she ended up smashing Jessica Penne mercilessly. So I wouldn't be completely that happened to Tate, because she just has this tendency to get blasted in the first round. So this is GPP play for me, I think, more. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to side with you on that one. She does tend to start a little slow. But I think she's a superior fighter, and I think she's going to take this fight in the later rounds via finish. So GPP sounds good to me.
Cool. All right, so we got our new main event of the evening.
Let's move on to the main event of the evening, which we did not expect to say. Brock Lesnar versus Mark Hunt. So
And this makes the main event, I guess, much easier to kind of talk about, because I think this is one of those like two true outcomes, right? Would you agree? There's outcome A and outcome B, and that is like pretty much it.
yeah,
right?
It's a coin flip. It's one or the other.
So, you want to go? No. You do this one. Lesnar's your
all
boy.
right. Well, Josh and I are talking off camera about this one prior to this, and I thought Mark Hunt was going to run away with this fight, but I'm going with Brock Lesnar in this fight in his return. And here's why. Looking at the striking department, everybody knows Lesnar.
Your mark for WWE. That's the real reason why. Let's let everyone. Let's let that be clear.
I just got an email. I just got an email right now, and it threw me off a little bit. I love wrestling. Brock Lesnar is going to hit Mark Hunt with the F5 in the center of the ring and hit him for the 1, 2, 3. No, Brock Lesnar does not like to get hit. Everybody knows that. He struggled in the stand-up department. He was picked apart by Alistair Overeem, Cain Velasquez, Shane Carwin even dropped his ass. The only thing he knows how to throw is a straight left jab. He wants no part of the stand-up game with Mark Hunt, despite having a 9-inch reach advantage over Hunt. The wrestling department, that's his bread and butter. He's 106-5 in his collegiate wrestling career. He's a national champion. He's a freak athletic. His speed and takedown ability is elite in the heavyweight division, even at his age. He's going to have the speed advantage. He's going to look for takedowns, and he's going to work for position, just like he did on Shane Carwin, just like he did on Frank Mir, Randy Couture. When he's in top control, he's going to use an unorthodox ground and pound. He relies on his sheer size and strength in the wrestling department on the ground. And the only way he wins this fight is if he takes Mark Hunt to the ground. His gas tank does tend to fade later in the fights, but I really do think his diverticulitis had a say in that. I really think he's in elite, tip-top condition. Looking at Mark Hunt, we've all seen every one of his fights. He's an elite kickboxer. He's got huge knockout power in his hands, especially that left hook that he throws. He stalks his opponents from the orthodox position. He pins them up against the cage. He leads with the left jab and the right hook combos. He's got big power in his kicks, too. A lot of people forget that he's a kickboxer. He has huge power behind his kicks. He really beat up Bigfoot Silva. But the one fight that made me lean Lesnar on this decision was he struggled against the 6-inch reach advantage of Miocic's. Lesnar's jab, it may be one of the only legitimate strikes that he has, but it could do a lot of damage with him. He has a 9-inch reach advantage. Miocic is much better on his feet than Lesnar is, but if Lesnar can keep him at bay, I think he's going to have a chance to win this fight. Miocic kept him at bay and then got him to the ground, and he worked over Mark Hunt. Miocic is a wrestler. He worked him over, and he was completely exhausted in the stand-up game, in between rounds. His takedown defense is very questionable. Miocic easily took him down in the first with a simple high crotch takedown, which you really don't see that often in MMA. Hunt, when he was on his back, he really had nothing to offer. He just kind of laid there and squirmed. He was just kind of tiring out. He's going to rely strictly on his stand-up. So if Lesnar can take him to the ground, he's going to completely dominate him. So that's why I'm going to go with the underdog in this fight. I'm going with Brock Lesnar. If he's not hesitant and he takes this fight to the ground, keep Hunt at bay with the jab to start, take him to the ground, and neutralize the attack of Mark Hunt, gas him out, because Brock Lesnar is the superior athlete. He's going to have the better gas tank. I could see him TKOing, submitting Mark Hunt later in the fight. I'm a firm believer in diverticulitis. It was a legitimate issue with Brock Lesnar. But yeah, I'm going with Brock in this fight. I think his athleticism, his sheer size, his reach advantage. Looking at them at the pre-fight press conference today, Lesnar is just much, much bigger. If he can keep him at bay with that jab, take him to the ground, I think it's over. And I think Brock Lesnar is going to win this fight. That being said, I'm going to have exposure to both, but I really do think Brock Lesnar is going to win this fight. Call me crazy.
No, I don't think you're crazy. I think, like I said, there's two true outcomes here. Either Lesnar can wrestle and get Hunt to the ground, and he pounds him out, or Hunt touches Lesnar with his fists. Lesnar hates getting hit, and Hunt eventually gets that knockout as Lesnar's retreating. He never really got comfortable exchanging punches ever, really. So I could definitely see either one of those things happening. I favor Hunt here. The layoff for Lesnar, obviously he hasn't fought for real in 5 years. And you mentioned the takedown defense. Hunt's takedown defense has looked better of late. The big problem that he had against Miocic is that Miocic was actually able to threaten him with strikes, which I don't think Lesnar's really going to be able to do. And that kind of helps set up his takedowns. When there's just a kind of a straight double leg or straight takedown attempt coming in on Hunt, he does a really, really good job of he's got really strong hips. That used to be a really big problem for him early in his career, but it's looked a lot better of late against Fabricio Verdum, against a bunch of guys who have tried to take him down, against Junior Dos Santos. Not that he's like an elite wrestler, but he's got wrestling skills for sure. Hunt was able to get off of his back, get off of the cage. So I expect Lesnar to come in and charge in for that blast double, and Hunt is going to buck out of that first attempt and then put hands on Lesnar and probably polish him off pretty quickly. That's sort of how I see the fight going. He might have to survive or buck out of a couple of takedown attempts, but I think Hunt wins this one. My question was do you think that they make this a 5-rounder? Does that even matter?
I don't think they make it a 5-rounder on this short notice.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. But I mean, it probably wouldn't matter in any case. So
yeah, I don't think it would matter really.
So looking at the prices, Brock is 9,000, Hunt is 10,400, and Hunt is -170 right now, and Lesnar is +150 underdog. So obviously you're probably thinking this is straight GPP play. You're leaning Lesnar, and so you got to like him for only 9,000. Hunt at only 10,400. If you get to that first round finish, then you're happy with that, I assume, right? It's pretty much whoever you like to win here, throw them in GPP. That's probably how you play this.
Yeah, I'm going to have exposure to both guys because it is pretty much a coin flip in my opinion. Have we looked at Vegas odds?
Yeah. Yeah, man, get off your phone. Get off Twitter for a second.
I'm sorry,
listen,
dude.
Listen.
Guys, I'm really distracted this podcast. I keep refreshing Twitter and seeing all these updates and stuff. But
all right, so we're through the analysis portion. You want to talk more about John Jones' situation?
I mean, what is there to say? He let the world down again. Daniel Cormier and his family are about to have the biggest payday of their life, win or lose, and John Jones tested positive.
That's who you have to feel bad for here is DC. That's who you should be feeling bad for at this point. Yeah, I mean, for a while you were a big Jones fan when he was on the come up and started his title reign. I just never really got him. He's just not a good dude. It's interesting to see.
What? I talked a whole bunch of trash on you in college because you weren't on the Jones hype train, and you were right. As much as it pains me to say it, you were right. Yeah, go ahead, gloat a little bit.
Thank you. It feels good. I don't get to hear that I'm so right that often, but in this case, I don't know. So do you think this was probably what do you think this was? Like steroids, do you think? Or is it bad to speculate? Do you think this was like recreational drugs? Did he get popped for marijuana?
See, here's the thing. He got busted with the law. So he's got to be an absolute idiot to be using recreational drugs. I don't think he has. I think this is probably performance-enhancing drugs in some fashion. That's my guess. But knowing John Jones, it's probably cocaine and marijuana. Who knows? But I was just reading throughout this podcast, he has a right to appeal, but it takes 72 hours for the appeal to fall into place, and the fight will be over by then. So he can't. He's off the card. Gegard Mousasi just tweeted, I was the last light heavyweight Strikeforce champion. I will be the next light heavyweight UFC champion if given the fight at Dana White.
He wasn't the last Strikeforce light heavyweight champion. He lost to King Mo, who lost to Rafael Feijiao, who lost to Henderson was the last Strikeforce champion. That dude is crazy. But whatever. Yeah. I mean, I did mention him earlier about how he could be the guy that, if there was anybody, he could potentially step up. But what are they going to make? What are they going to make that fight for? Just a non-title fight, just to have DC on the card. Maybe you do that to kind of help him out, since he's been training for the. Huh?
To get him paid? I don't know. Do they pay him anyway? Because
they should.
They should pay him the win bonus. You'd think they would.
I don't know if they'll give him the win bonus.
I mean, they'll pay him the show bonus or the show fee, whatever they call it.
Yeah. Dang.
Damn, dude, that just ruined my weekend.
Was that the fight you were most looking forward to? There's so many fights on this one.
The card is stacked top to bottom, but how can you not buy into the drama and the storyline that is John Jones and Daniel Cormier?
I was looking forward to it for sure.
Exactly. Like, I know there's the whole marketing thing behind the UFC, but those two genuinely hate each other. Ariel Helwani was talking on Twitter throughout this podcast about how he ran into DC in the back and he was completely emotional, couldn't talk. He was so upset. That's sad, man. I feel bad for DC because they're probably never going to fight again.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't feel bad for John Jones. I feel bad for DC, man. He's done everything by the books, by the rules, never been busted. He's a family man. Like, good for him. That's the type of guy that you need to look up to. And I feel bad for him, dude. I really do.
Although, ironically, you remember at that press conference a while back where everyone was booing, all the fans were booing DC.
Yeah, because they're all idiots. And he even said it. He goes, yeah, you're booing me. You're booing me. I never failed a drug test in my life. John Jones is running from cops and hitting pregnant women with a car, and they're out here cheering for him. That'd be you. That'd be you.
People already.
You'd be out here cheering for him.
Me?
Yeah, dude, you.
I've been saying since 2011 that Jones is the worst around, and you couldn't get enough of him. So,
bro,
yeah.
If I had a picture of your college bedroom with all those John Jones UFC card posters hanging on your wall,
you're delusional. You're crazy.
All right, guys, that wraps up our analysis. As always, we have a bonus pick part of the evening.
Oh, geez, yeah, I totally forgot about that. And all the excitement.
Yeah, holy crap. Man, dude, that really threw a wrench in our plans. We need to be more professional next time. Good Lord. All right, so we do a lock of the night, a fight of the night, and Stonewall stunner of the night. We have point values for each of them. We gave our picks last night for UFC Fight Night 90, so this is going to change. But as of now, we're tied 7-7. We'll start with fight of the night. Josh, you can go first.
Now I think it's got to be Lozon Sanchez. I think is going to be awesome, but the stakes there are basically none at this point.
There's two fights that are fight of the nights here.
I think my pick is probably going to be Edgar Aldo. What do you think?
You're an asshole.
Yeah, obviously. Is that your, I mean, I had first pick the last time. You want to take this one? We're batting 0 on fight of the night pick, so it probably doesn't matter anyway.
Yeah, you're right. You can take Aldo. I'll take. I'm gonna go on a limb. I'm gonna say the Dillashaw fight.
Interesting. All right.
All right.
Lock that in.
Is the lock of the evening. So who do we think is guaranteed to win their fight? I'm gonna go first on this one. All right.
Yeah.
TJ. I gotta go TJ.
Your lock?
Yeah, he's my lock.
Okay. I think my lock is going to be Zingano.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, with Jones being off, there's not a lot of, huge favorites. I mean, Tate's a pretty big favorite, but I'm a little concerned for her. I think Nunes has a much better shot at finishing her than Pena does of finishing Zingano. And, yeah, I mean, picking a heavyweight lock is always dangerous. So, I don't know. Kane's up there. He might be my second pick. Sage is one of the bigger favorites, but I can't. No way you can pick him for a lock. So I'm gonna go with Zingano, and she's not even a minus 200 favorite. So
good. I love it.
Interesting.
All right, our next pick of the evening has nothing to do with point value, but it's our bathroom break fight of the night. It's the one fight where I always say this: you're gonna have more fun in the bathroom and enjoy yourself more in the bathroom than you would watching this fight. And there is no sexual innuendo involved in that joke.
Thank you for the clarifier. Appreciate that.
Well, you got an attitude with me last night, and I have to clarify that to our viewers. So, bathroom break fight of the night for me. Wow, there's not too many that. Man, Lesnar versus Hunt, bathroom break fight of the night. Chalk it down. Mark it up.
What?
Mark it 8, dude.
That's
I think Lesnar wrestles him to the ground and it's boring. I think he grinds out a decision. The fans boo him as he's on the microphone with Joe Rogan, and he wins the fight.
I don't think there's any way any of that stuff happens, but that's fine. All right, my bathroom break. I think I'm going to go with.
Who's saucy?
Nah, I think he's going to mix it up with Santos. They're two dynamic dudes. I think they're pretty exciting. I'm going to go Hendricks Gastelum. I think that has probably the most potential to be like a wrestling, grappling, mostly battle out of all of these. So that's my bathroom break.
All right, and finally, our Stonewall Stunner of the evening. Something that's going to come out of left field, and Stonewall stunned the entire world. So, Josh, you can go first on this one, buddy.
My Stonewall Stunner is that John Jones will not fight at UFC 200.
Oh, dude. That's crazy, man. You suck. That joke wasn't funny. I want you to pick again.
I'm going to go Enrique Marin beats Sage Northcutt. Finishes Sage Northcutt.
Oh, wow. That's awesome, man.
That's a stunner. What's yours?
Does this count? Brock Lesnar finishes Mark Hunt?
Get out of here with that, dude. No. That would be in no way stunning. Like I said, there's two possible outcomes for that fight. Hunt knocks out Lesnar. Lesnar takes down and knocks out Hunt. That's it. There's only two.
Diego Sanchez finishes Joe Lozon in the first round. That's the lock of the night right there.
Oh, God, dude.
Stonewall Stunner, mark it down, loser.
Now you're just tearing at my heart, dude. Joe Lozon, you cannot be saying he's going to get finished in the first round by Diego Sanchez. When was the last time Diego Sanchez finished anybody? Was it the Tough One finale? When he finished Kenny Florian back in 2005? Is that the last time Diego Sanchez got finished?
Who am I? I'm Joe Lozon. I'm going to sleep. No, man,
That
I don't know.
happened.
You stole my thunder with that. So we're going to go with Joe Lozon getting put to sleep in the first round.
What? You were going to pick Marin?
Yeah.
Oh, my bad, dude. You were all on stage. I didn't think you were going to pick him.
Well, I mean, if there's a Stonewall stunner, I'm going to have to pick something crazy.
Why don't you
Anyway.
pick? What are the odds that Lesnar Hunt goes the distance? Would that be a stunner? Would that be stunner worthy?
Yeah. Can I have that?
Well, let me see the odds on it. I'm trying to find them.
Plus 190 to go over 1.5 rounds.
Where is there the fight goes the distance? Is that one? That's got to be one of these props. You looking? Do you see it?
No, I don't know what website you use. Mine doesn't show that.
Anyway, whatever. I'll give it to you. Hunt Lesnar goes the distance. That can be your. You want that one?
Love it.
All right. Word.
All right, guys. That wraps up our analysis. We don't really have any emails at the moment, so as always,
Well, we did get a legit tweet, like I said earlier, from one of our, well, I guess not listeners, but one of my students, whatever. So again, shout out Corey Van Dyke. Thank you for breaking the news to us. We would have gone through the entire podcast without knowing probably that Jones was off the card. So thanks for that.
follow us on Twitter at Daily Fantasy Knockout or at Daily Fantasy KO. Send us your emails, dailyfantasyknockout@gmail.com. Follow me on Twitter at Houdini16, WHODEANY16. Follow Josh at Stonewall MMA.
Yeah.
And then
Yep.
make sure to follow
you can also
Josh's
find
blog on rotogrinders.com. Josh, take it
Yeah.
over from there.
Yeah, so I'm going to be putting out blogs for definitely UFC Fight Night 90. Going to be coming out tomorrow, hopefully, just in time. Thursday morning, just in time. Yeah, and definitely UFC 200, and hopefully we'll get time to break down the Tough 23 finale, which probably just wrapped up this evening. So yeah, should be coming out with that. So my blog is on rotogrinders.com. You can do an opponent search. There's one of those little bars for that opponent search. JDS86 is my username or whatever on there. You can find the blog that way. It's also called Daily Fantasy Knockout. So check that out. Yeah. Good.
I think that's all we got for you guys today. Not too sure what the next card is. We're going to try to get one out for the Ultimate Fighter finale. Not too sure if that's going to happen. I have to go through a little surgery on Monday, so I will not be with you for the Wednesday card. But after that, Stonewall and I will be back at it. I believe that's UFC 201.
There might be another fight night in there. No, I don't know. There might be another fight night.
There's one Wednesday. There's one Wednesday the 13th, which I will not be able to bring on with you guys. But after that, we'll be back at it again. Hopefully you guys got some good information from us tonight. Sorry about the John Jones news. It's unfortunate. It really kind of threw a wrench in our party. Kind of distracted today. But hopefully you got some information from us to make you guys some money this weekend on DraftKings. And that's pretty much all we have for this one. So for Stonewall Stillman, I'm Drew. Thank you guys for listening, and good luck this weekend. Peace.
Peace.